You want to be a mortgage broker. You're contemplating a career in the mortgage industry. Maybe it's as a VP of lending. Maybe it's as a mortgage loan originator. But you're trying to ask yourself, am I cut out for this? Is this even a good career? In today's episode, we are going to do the deepest dive in what it means to launch your career as a mortgage sales professional, what it takes to become successful, in hopes that you'll determine whether or not it's a good fit for you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and my main man,
JC
John Coleman.
Dio, what's popping?
Bro, I'm excited about this.
Okay.
I am excited about today's episode. Here we are. We're closing out 2024.
Thank God.
We're getting ready to go into 2025.
Turn up.
If you are in the housing or the real estate industry, you have experienced 3 of the most difficult years in decades. I'm saying like literally early 1980s, early 1990s, 2008, 2009, and then 22, 23, 24, right? Those years have been some of the worst years, and I'm now spanning 4 decades when I talk about it, and we're coming off of that. Things are looking up. Things are getting better. We have less of us chasing more business, meaning there's less mortgage professionals entering 2025 than there were entering 2024. And there's going to be more transactions in 2025 than there were in 2024. So that is a positive sign. That also means that there's many men and women who are contemplating whether or not they should do a career transition into the mortgage industry, maybe become a mortgage broker, maybe become a mortgage loan originator. There's some that maybe are thinking, do I want to jump back into this industry? Maybe they were in it at one point. They got out. Now they want to get back in. Back in the day, I called those B backers. Some of our best hires in 2012, 2013, 2014, they were men and women who had careers in the early 2000s. Then they got out after the financial meltdown. Then they got back in. And I ended up just calling them B backers. Like, hey, I'll be back. And then there's younger professionals who this is going to be their first career opportunity. And they're saying, man, is this a good career? And I've wanted to redo this since we did episode 41, and now we're talking about like episode 401, I think.
490 something, Dustin.
Is that, we're almost at episode 501.
Don't remind me.
Okay, so we've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah.
We kind of know what we're talking about.
Barely.
And we're going to do the 2025 edition.
Okay.
Because the first one was the 2020 edition.
Damn.
Think about that.
So long ago.
It was the 2020 edition, but that episode 41, just like truth be told, that was the episode that put us on the map. That was also when you and I finally started finding our voice. Meaning it took us 40 episodes before we started finding the formula that we figured people would like. And then once we found that formula, we just leaned into it. All right, so let's get started, John. Okay, so the question we get a lot is like, well, how do I get started in the industry? Okay, we have plenty of resources to get you started with the take a 20-hour course, study and pass the NMLS, and then get a job. Okay, that's how you start. I'm not here to teach you the best places to take your 20-hour course. Just know you're going to be required to take a 20-hour course. You're going to be required to study for an exam, pass it, and then you have to find an employer. People will tell you, you have to find a sponsor. No, sponsors are for AA. Okay, you need to find a damn employer. You need to find a sales manager willing to hire you, a mortgage company that is going to embrace you and bring you in under their wing and teach you the way. Like, that's what you're looking for. And I don't care if you want to be a mortgage broker. I don't care if you want to be a mortgage banker, if you want to actually be a loan officer at a credit union, or any of the other words or acronyms that are used to basically describe a man or a woman who helps home buyers obtain the financing they need to purchase real estate, or a man or a woman who helps homeowners obtain a different or a new home loan, which is called a refinance transaction, right? Like, it's all the same. Brokers have their advantages. They also come with their disadvantages. Working for a credit union has its advantages. It also has its disadvantages. Being a mortgage banker at a top 50 or top 25 national lender has its advantages. It has its, and also has its disadvantages. Okay, so let's get that off the table. So first and foremost, take your 20-hour course, study for your exam. By the way, 20-hour course, I prefer to go to Knowledge Coop. I love Ken Perry. I love their team. You can check out what they have to offer when you go to study for the exam. More than likely, it's going to be a hard-ass exam. You're probably going to want to have like some kind of a study buddy or a study group or some study materials. Check out our friends over at MLO Study Buddy, right? Rocky Ligurgio, he has an entire Facebook group that if you looked up MLO Study Buddy, Let's Pass This Test, I think that's the full name of the Facebook group. It's private, but you can ask to join. They have a couple like basic entry-level questions, answer their questions, and voila, you will find a community of men and women just like you who are trying to pass the exam. Once you find the exam, you need an employer, not a sponsor. They may use the word sponsor, but sponsors for alcoholics who are trying to sober up, okay? You need a damn employer. How you find your employer, this question, John, I must answer at least 17 times a month, every single month, to where it's like, I'm a little bit of a broken record, but I think every time I have to like share it.
Leapfrog as much as you can until you find the right spot.
Negative Ghost Rider, but some
shit.
people may have to do that. Like there's a term in business that I love that's called take what the defense is giving you. It's actually a sports term used predominantly in football, right? But in business, take what the defense is giving you is like, look, you get what you get. You don't complain. Okay. Whatever is being offered, if that's all that's being offered, take it. It may just be 3 yards up the middle, but if you go 3 yards up in the middle of the game of football, you'll make a first down every 4 plays. And if you end up making about 8 first downs, 8.5 first downs, score a touchdown. The goal in that game is to score touchdowns. Boom, you did it. Is it sexy? No. Is it fun? No. Is it a lot of work? Yes. But leapfrogging is never ideal in general. But you need to find an employer. I'm going to tell you 97 times out of 100, the career opportunity that you want is not posted online. The career opportunity you want is not one in which is easy to obtain. Like if it's easy to score an interview and it's easy to get hired, you should definitely question whether or not that's the best place for you. Okay. I don't care if it's broker or banker. I don't care if it's credit union or call center. What I care about for anyone who's breaking into the industry is, do those people resonate with you? Meaning, did you find your tribe? Did you find your people? Are those people going to invest in you? I'm not saying invest in you because they're going to pay you the highest commission or offer you the lowest rates. No, invest in you like in terms of structure, support, training, guidance, mentorship. What does that look like? You should ask yourself and ask of them, who have you onboarded or hired that is in a situation like mine, and where are they today in their career? If they can tell you they have 2 or 5 or a dozen men and women who have come in to their company, brand new, newly licensed with your similar background and your similar skill set, and they now are successful originators, then you probably found yourself a really good employment opportunity. If you find a leader who can sit down and explain to you how he or she's going to invest in you, how they're going to put you on a schedule, how they're going to offer you structure, support, maybe even some training and some guidance, some coaching, some mentorship, I'm going to tell you, you found yourself a good manager to be led by. But what's most important is that you go out and find that type of opportunity. What's not important is whether or not it's broker or banker, whether or not it's one company or the other company. None of that matters, especially for your first 2 years. Like I always love the originators like, oh, DO, this company's going to pay me the highest commission. I said, that's great. But the highest commission on 0 loans closed, the last time I did 4th grade math, is anything times 0 is 0. So you made no money. The highest commission, but you only closed 4 loans versus half the commission, but you close 14 loans. I understand that this business is one in which we rely on current clients to refer us, past clients to refer us. We rely on building relationships with all parties of the transaction. Those are title companies and those are listing agents. If you only had 4 transactions, then you gave yourself 1/3 of the opportunity to get current client referrals, past client referrals, build out your database of referral sources. And by the way, you would have made more money doing 14 transactions at half the commission than doing four transactions at double. So rarely does the best opportunity equal the greatest pay per loan. That's a farce. That's a question that comes up pretty often that I want to make sure we go ahead and just nip it in the bud. Now, I mentioned the opportunity that you want is not one in which is going to be found online. It's not going to be one in which it's easy to score. So I want you to know that your job is to network. When you become a mortgage broker, a mortgage loan originator, it's a sales and marketing position first. So you're going to have to network your butt off to build out your book of business. Why not have to network your butt off in order to find who's hiring, who's willing to bring you on? So that means reaching out to your circle of influence, hitting up everyone that's in your cell phone and asking them, who do you know that's in mortgage and real estate? Who do you know that kicks ass in mortgage and real estate? Get that name, that number, call the person, introduce yourself. Hey, my name is John Coleman. I got your name from Betsy Ross. Betsy and I went to college together. Betsy told me you're a badass lender in town. I'm recently licensed. I'm looking to break into the industry, get my foot in the door. Is your company hiring? Would your company be a good fit? If the answer is no, we're not hiring, or no, we wouldn't be a good fit, who would be? Who do you know? Now, all of a sudden, that guy or girl gives you a name and number of someone else in town, and you have to network for the opportunity that you desire. That may include, you may have to go join some trade organizations. There's Women's Council of Realtors. There's Mortgage Bankers Association. There's mortgage broker groups. Join those groups, attend their events, pay your $30 to go to that luncheon, shake hands, kiss babies, make eye contact, make small talk, and more importantly, make connections, right? So I think that's very important for guys and girls to understand coming out of the gate, because I find that's where they're going to be frustrated. Now, the next conversation is what type of person? What type of person makes it? But before I get into what type of person you look like, you want to ask me a question or make a comment. Are you good so
No,
far?
I'm good. I'm sorry. My eyes were glossing over because I was about to fall asleep. But no, keep going. No, I'm honestly, I'm enthralled by this because I'm thinking about making the career change to become a mortgage loan originator.
Says who?
Could you imagine, seriously, Dustin, I won't be offended. Could you imagine me if I had to, for 3 months, be a mortgage loan originator? Could you see me being successful at the job?
Wait a minute. Are you going to change your personality?
No, nothing about me changes. Nothing.
Like, are you smart enough?
No.
Yes.
No.
Are you charismatic? Yes. Are you money motivated? No. No. Can you give any fucks? No. So because of that, that's a bad recipe. You're smart enough. Yes.
Okay.
You're charming enough. Yes.
Oh, yes.
You have what it takes, except for like the heart and soul aspect. You got the brains. You got the brains, John. I give you that. Right. And I know you are a hard worker.
Oh man, that was awesome. I needed that.
Okay.
That was good inspiration. So if someone's watching this, I'm like, can I make it? I don't know. Are you like John Coleman? Because if you're anything like me, probably not.
So let's get into like what type of person makes it.
Yeah.
I just hit the nail on the head. And by the way, I have hired in my career 40 plus rookie loan originators. I built out a very successful rookie assimilation program, right? Where we can bring someone in from the street and within 16 weeks, get them launched into their career and support them through that freshman and sophomore year of origination. I have made more bad hires than I have good hires. When I say 40 plus, I bet the number's closer to 100 over the past 13, 14 years. And by the way, if you're a mortgage company out there, I can teach you how to do that, what works and what doesn't work. Because there's many mortgage companies that struggle with this, so therefore they just don't do it. But I'm like, man, if they just knew the playbook, like, you want to consult with your boy D.O., hook me, like hit me up. We can talk about that. But I will tell you, it's pretty human capital intensive. It's labor intensive bringing on a rookie. I think anyone getting into the industry, I think they should know this is an industry that requires you to be resourceful. AF. That stands for always and forever. Like resourceful AF. Most of us who made it, we made it because we were resourceful. We made it because we had that hold my beer mentality. What, you don't think I can? What, you dare me? Hold my beer. So most of us very entrepreneurial at heart, at spirit, and we have a high drive. And you need to know that because I talk to so many newly licensed originators and they're like almost in tears. I can't get a job. No one can hire me. I'm like, well, look at you.
Schlub.
Like, yeah. I mean, you need to put on your best. You put on your Sunday best, stand straight, make eye contact, put your shoulders back, and go out there and advocate for what you want. So understanding that the career opportunity you want won't be advertised, you're going to have to leverage your network. Once you do all that, it's like, well, what is it going to take for someone to want to hire me? And understand this, most mortgage companies don't want someone who has no book of business, no experience, and requires training.
Yeah.
You are a drag on them.
Yeah, you cost me money, actually.
That you actually do. Even when you're 100% commission, you cost that company money. It's just good to know. It's perspective. You need to know why someone. It's not, don't take it personal. It's like, look, they don't have the know-how, they don't have the human capital, or they're not willing to take the risk on you because you're the risk, right? You think you're taking a risk. They're taking a financial risk on you because they're going to have to invest in you, etc. All right. So on that note, what type of people would make it? Here's what I look for. And I was talking about making my 40 plus hires, of which at least half of them were bad hires. They were learning opportunities. I only, at this point, 15 years into doing my rookie assimilation program, I only look for originators that can share a story with me. By the way, they can articulate it well. I need a good storyteller. But their story has to be about how they overcame adversity and accomplished something that's impressive, how they were recognized at being the best at something, or, someone who maybe has a chip on their shoulder and something to prove, right? And preferably all three. So like people come to mind. I have a friend of mine that I would 100% hire into the mortgage industry tomorrow if she was ever interested. Now she's in the mortgage industry, but she works not for a lender as a mortgage originator, right? She works for one of the supporting companies that support or they're vendors to the mortgage industry. But when you get to know her story, right? Immigrated from South America. English was her second language. She used to carry around a notepad with her. You're talking about 12, 13 years old. Doesn't know English. By the way, if you met her today, you would think English was her first and only language, but carried a notepad with her because it bothered her that someone would say a word and she wouldn't know it. So she would write it down and go home and look it up and study it. And she is somebody that it bothered her that she spoke with an accent, that she put in intentional effort to learn how to speak her second language with a native accent. Like, I don't know, for as much success as I've had in my career, I don't know if and when I go to master Spanish, if I'm going to give two shits that I say it in a Florida redneck dialect. Like, I'm going to say it to the best of my ability, but people still might not be able to understand me because I'm not saying it with the right accent. But this professional, she did, right? Then when I look at her extracurriculars and the involvement she has at her university and the amount of time that she pours into the trade organizations, that's a shoo-in. And she doesn't have to be coming from the mortgage industry, but she can tell me that story about immigrating here when she was in middle school, about bringing the notepad, about the intentionality she put to learning how to speak the new language without an accent. And then I look at all of her involvement. That's the type of human I want to invest in. So like, those are the types of people that tend to get moved to the front of the line when it comes to someone being willing to take a chance on you. This guy was, when I met him, he was 28 or 29 years old and literally, I don't think knew how to use Outlook and barely knew how to use a computer because although he was a college graduate, his prior profession was swinging a baseball bat. And when you personality profiled him, he probably didn't personality profile too high for sales, right? That is not on a disc personality profile. I can't imagine this person has what we would call a high I. And they didn't have any real world experience. Like it was either professional baseball or hitting lessons to little kids. But here's what I loved. When I got to know him, he's undersized, and his whole life, because of being undersized, he was doubted, right? So he had to fight to make the JV team. He had to fight to be a varsity starter. He had to fight to be invited to all the D1 baseball camps because all people saw was his size, not his ability, not his character. When he made it onto that D1 program, he was recognized by his peers and his coaches and named captain. And then when he went into the majors, he made it to the All-Stars, but of the minor leagues, never of professional baseball. And more importantly, at 20, however old he was when I met him, at 29, let's say, he no longer could have a career in baseball because he had a couple injuries that prevented him from playing. But all of his friends, they're making $600,000 a year, $2 million a year because they made it to the big show. So he has a chip on his shoulder. I loved every part of that. Now, granted, he's smart. Like when you interview him, you know, okay, he's smart, he's well spoken, he's well dressed. He was connected in that local market. He was connected. Like those are all things that we look for as hiring managers. But he had that, show me that time in your life where you overcame adversity, right? Well, he did it his whole entire life in athletics. Show me that one time that you were recognized as being great, becoming team captain of a D1 top 25 program. Yeah, that to me would be, and then obviously working so hard that he achieved success to be named an all-star at a sport at that high of a level. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that told me a lot about that person's character. That I was like, bam. And then the third person came in, and I knew coming out of the gates, all right, he doesn't necessarily look the part. Looks more like a biker coming in. Soft-spoken, burly guy. But he did come recommended, right? He got his interview because a top realtor in town called us and said, hey, you should interview this guy. He's my son's best friend, and I think he would do great doing what you all do for a living. Yeah, well, that dude came in. Does look like a big, badass biker that would crush you with like 2 fingers. And he is kind of soft-spoken. And he is tatted up a little bit. But he was the number 1 sales guy 5 years in a row at one of the local truck dealerships. 5 years in a row. He's another college athlete. I don't think he ever had a college degree. That doesn't matter. Right? I think he went to college. I don't know if he ever finished college. Didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was this dude who, by the way, his prior background had nothing to do with sales. He kind of fell into sales, trying to like kill time in between 2 job opportunities in his prior career. But the minute I'm like, dude, 5 years in a row, and I know, like coming from the car industry, those hours suck, right? You like get like Tuesday off. That's the day you get off. You're working 10, 12-hour days, usually like 10 to 8 p.m., 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., with like Tuesdays off and maybe every other Sunday off. Those are like your days off. I was like, bro, you bring that same mentality, that same hustle, that same grind into this industry, I can teach you the X and O's. I can teach you DTI, LTV, AUS, Fannie, Freddie, FHA, USDA. I can teach you all that. But I can't teach that hold my beer mentality. So I think it's important for anyone to know coming into the industry, and John, this is probably what you lack, is do you have that, I'm so motivated, usually by money, also by awards, also by being just recognized as the best. Do you have that in you? Because it's going to take that in you to get through the first 2 years. I'm going to tell you all this. I don't wish the first 2 years of this career on my worst enemy. I just don't. Quick caveat, and I'm going to let you ask your question.
Oh, I don't have a question.
You should have a question. Think of a question. I'll come back to you. All right. I know you're bored.
Professor.
Yeah.
Shit, like I'm about to get called on. John,
yeah. All he's dreaming about is getting downstairs into his car.
How do you know?
Because it's been 3 hours.
Fucking sitting
It's
here
been
with
3 hours since you went downstairs. Yeah, you need your medicine. Daddy needs his medicine.
Fuck, I do.
We got to get Papa some of that wacky tobacco. But anyhow, not everyone has to start all in as a mortgage originator. You don't have to become that mortgage broker. There's nothing wrong with doing business development for 6 to 18 months for a more senior originator, if that means they're going to help teach you the business. There's nothing wrong with being a loan officer assistant for 12 to 24 months if it means you can learn the industry. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a processing assistant. Like, I know originators who started as a freaking receptionist, from receptionist to marketing assistant to processor to assistant underwriter, to all of a sudden they're a junior LO and now they're a top producer making $300,000-400,000 a year, right? Like, there's no bad way to get your start in this industry. What's important is you find a place where you can gain experience and you can learn. And if you're trying to get the better job opportunities, well, those qualities that I just mentioned and those 3 examples, those are 3 real life examples of people I either have hired or I would hire. And it's what I look for anymore when hiring. You said you had a question.
No, I literally said I didn't have one.
Oh, okay. You wanted me to keep going.
No, you wanted me to like make up a question. No, that's really that's great, Dustin. But since I like to be a realist, can you give me 2 examples about people that you thought would be a great hire, some of their background experience, and why ultimately they didn't succeed?
Yeah, nice people. Nice people. Like, you have to love helping people to be successful, but
that's why I got into this job, because I love helping people attain the dream of home ownership, Dustin. That's why I got into this.
That is a very important component, right? Having your heart in the right place and being a good human.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have a drive to go out and just network your butt off, lead generate your butt off, run marketing campaigns that don't suck, that actually bring business opportunities your way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to have the fortitude to actually deliver or convert on those opportunities. And there's a saying, nice people finish last.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I say nice, they're too nice. I hired them only because they were nice. They didn't have all the other things. You need to be nice. You need to be a people person. You need to love to help. But if all you are is nice and all you are is a people person who just wants to help, that's phenomenal for a support role. That is not phenomenal for the lead role, because the lead role has to have a little bit of that cutthroat entrepreneur. I'm going to work as many hours as I need to work to accomplish the mission. I'm going to do and say the things I need to do and say that are legal, that are ethical, but I'm going to do whatever it takes. You need me to make 100 calls? I'm making 100 calls. You need me to say X, Y, and Z while I'm making 100 calls? I'm going to say X, Y, and Z while making 100 calls. You need me to go to X amount of networking functions, spend this much time creating this much content to post it? I'm going to do that. And at that point, just being nice isn't enough. So when I look at those that didn't make it, it's typically because I like people. I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, God, they are so nice. So all of a sudden, I started projecting my drive and my fuck you, hold my beer mentality onto them. But they didn't have it. So just being nice wasn't enough. I found people who got into this because they're like, I just want to make 6 figures. And I'm not denying that making $100,000 a year isn't cool, that it isn't a lot of money. It is. In the big scheme of things, it is. I know that in today's day and age, a lot of first-time home buyers like, I can't even buy a house and I make $100,000 a year, or my spouse and I combine make $100,000 a year. We can't afford an apartment. We can't afford. I get that. But if you look at it in perspective, in totality, $100,000 a year is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting in front of me and say, I want to make $100,000 a year, I'm done. I'm done. This career is too grand. It's too hard to just want to make $100,000. I think that's the curse of the mortgage industry, is if you can survive those first 2 years, if you can do just enough at least average to average plus, and you can stick it out for 2 or 3 years, if you're left, because this industry does chew up and spit out a lot of people, but if you're left, The curse of the mortgage industry is you can make 100 grand pretty easily. But it's like you're squandering opportunity. Your peers are making $300,000, $600,000, $900,000 a year, $2 million a year in this industry. And you came into it with the mentality of 100 grand. Like, look, if you just want to make 100 grand a year, phenomenal for you. I'm not hiring you. Not if you're brand new. Not if you have no experience. Not if you don't have a book of business. I'm not going to do it. I'll hire anybody who has a book of business, who is a good human, who's already trained and experienced. If that guy or girl wants to come in and close their 2 or 3 loans a month, and they're not a pipeline terrorist, and they toe the company line, and they're just a good human to be around, all day long, hit me up, Dustin Owen on LinkedIn. Let's talk about career opportunities. But if you don't have a book of business, if you don't know what you're doing, you're relying on me to coach you, train you, mentor you, and you just want to make 100 grand, not worth it, dog. Not worth it. That was a mistake I would make back in the day. And it was then coupled with something told me something was off about this person, right? Like there's this one girl that we hired. She came recommended by a friend of mine who was working for me, and he was having success. And he's like, oh, you're going to love her. She crushed it when we all worked together selling Nextel phones. Okay, when I interviewed her, I liked her. She's charming. She's cute. She dresses well. She says all the right things. But look at her resume. I'm like, damn, you're like 40 and you've had 6 jobs in the past 8 years. And you would start in a sales job and then all of a sudden you were like the assistant to the owner. You would start in a sales role and now you're like the training coordinator. Well, the writing was on the wall. She sucks at sales. Like she may be great at a ton of things. She may be a great mom. She may be a great girlfriend. She may be a great daughter, a great friend, like great at so many things, but she's not great at sales. Like it was evident in her resume. That wasn't the case. When I asked her, what's the most amount of money you've ever made? That number was less than 100 grand. When I said, what's a lot of money to you? She said anything over 100 grand. Bad hire. And by the way, it flopped. It flopped. Likable. Super likable. But the resume spoke to me, right? And by the way, the one time she had success, it was selling a product that was like the hottest, most desired product that had no competition. That was right place, right time. That's when I said I could have put my daughter in there. It's like if you told me you were funding $1 million a month in 2020 and 2021 as an originator, I could have put my middle school daughter as a loan originator in 2020 and 2021, and with the most minimal effort, she could have been funding $1 million a month.
You know what she would have been too in the Scotsman Guide as a top producer. Next.
She wouldn't have been. Scotsman Guide that year would have been 40 million or more in volume, right? People. But nonetheless, it's like you got to put things in perspective. So you'd ask me about the bad hires. Yeah, there's so many of those, right? I hired a guy that retired from law enforcement. Super likable guy. Love to have a beer with him. Love to go fishing with him, right? Just salt of the earth human. He legitimately couldn't work a computer. I didn't even think to ask someone that. 25 years in law enforcement, I guess those guys and girls don't use computers a whole lot. So he couldn't use a computer, but he was also getting a pension and his wife made really good money and their kids were grown and out of the house. That dude, if he ever once had the hold my beer mentality, it long past him. He was just looking for something to do, a hobby. Yeah, terrible hire. Absolutely terrible hire. That dude, I think I told him, you stole from me. Like at that time, we were doing so well in the mortgage industry. I used to be willing to hire a rookie and give them some kind of a salary for their first 6 months. It wasn't much, 2 or 3 grand. But their first 6 months allowed me to hold them accountable and really coach them up and teach them. And he asked for it. I gave it to him. And then he didn't do but like 1/3 of what I required him to do. And when I finally terminated him, because he said something to me and I just popped back off and said, well, you stole from me. That's what I said, you're a thief. Anybody that gets paid and you don't perform and you took that money, I'll call you a thief.
It's like 800. That's 80% of the NFL talent right now.
So on my end, that's why they make league minimum, right? Honestly, that's why they make league minimum, and that's why their average tenure, their average tenure is like 2 years in the business, right? So 2 years in the league. So I learned a valuable lesson as a leader. No, man, extreme ownership, Jocko's book, that was on me. I should have fired homeboy on day 91. I let him go to like month 9 or month 13. And, that's a learning, because what happened? I liked him. He was nice. But nowhere in his profile did he show where he was like the best at something.
I'm going to throw that on my resume. Tell me some qualities about you. I'm nice. I'm likable. What else, Mr. Coleman? That's it. The fuck else do you need?
Yeah. You're really good at staying up until like 5 a.m. and being at that 8 a.m. meeting. Way better than I ever could be. Even in my prime, John.
I hurt, and it hurts me. I pay for it, but it's quick recovery.
I couldn't do it. I just cannot do it. So we've touched on just about everything else except for the last 3 quick questions, and I'll kind of find a way to put a bow on this.
There's no such thing as quick 3 questions, and you say put a bow on it, Dustin. We're going to be here for another 45 minutes. Hold on. Let me call my...
Nope. You're good. You're good. What do you have to do? What's more important to being here with me? He's looking at his phone. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple...
Where should I start? What the fuck? I don't think we have time in the day. But no, that's because people care about things.
They do, and this is important. So I told you it takes 2 years. I told you that you need to have a great mentor. Told you have to have a hold my beer mentality. Just understand this about the industry, right? This whole episode is about becoming a mortgage broker, like entering the career of loan origination as your profession. It's a profession. This is not a job. You have to treat it as if you are going into business for yourself. Now, hopefully you'll work for a larger company, and that company will offer you benefits and a 401k and some resemblance of systems and processes and mentorship. But at the end of the day, you work for you, LLC. You need to approach it as such. If you can't give it 2 years, don't do it. It ain't worth it. I've had too many top producers on this show that we've interviewed that have said 2 to 3 years. And these are guys that are making, or girls that are making, over $1 million a year as originators. 2 to 3 years. It's not less. You're not that special. You're not that unique. Like the men and women who are making over $1 million a year doing this as a career will tell you it took them and everyone they know 2 to 3 years to actually launch their business. So you have to give it 2 to 3 years. This is not a career for dum-dums. It's not. And I don't say it to be a dick. I said it to be truthful and honest. You need to have above average intelligence. You need to be a good problem solver. You need to be able to dominate 4th grade math. Like if I said, John, what is 4 times 7? And you can't say 28?
You didn't even give me a chance.
I did. Do you all not understand? People like me, when I take a breath,
I count with my fingers to this day, Dustin. To this day.
Well, when I take a breath, that half a second to a second and a half,
fucking millisecond.
It feels like an hour. I gave you time to think. I gave you time to respond.
That's like when your wife asks you something and she already knows the answer and she doesn't give you time to respond. I thought we were going to, you can't, yeah, that's what you did to me, Professor, but go ahead.
But yes, 4th grade math. You need to be able to say 1/2 minus a quarter.
Stop.
Plus an 8 is 3/8.
90% of not the world can't do that.
They can learn that. 1% of 9.
What's 1/2 divided by 1/4?
1/2 divided by 1/4 is 1/8.
Wow, you're a fucking genius, bro. I'm serious.
Yeah, it's 1/8. I mean, do you know that?
No, I don't know that shit. How did you know that?
I mean, I don't know that, but that's what I'm thinking. Well, what is 1/8 of
$50 of marijuana?
No, but if you just break it down, right? So a half is 50.
Okay.
And a quarter is 25.
Yeah.
And so there's 4 goes into 50 how many times? And it's just 12.5. So it's an 1/8, 0.125.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the secret sauce that Dustin isn't giving you as to why he is in the top 1% of mortgage loan originators.
No, but I learned that. It took me a matter of like 3 to 5 days of practicing.
I learned that somewhere back in 4th grade.
But once you start using it, it becomes easy.
That's what I was trying to pull out of you, Dustin.
Like when someone says to me, "Hey, John, if I gave you $100,000 today, and I'm going to teach you the rule of 72. And the rule of 72 is essentially this. Take your annual rate of return, divide it into 72. So a nice annual rate of return is 8%. You can say 8%, you can say 9%, you can say 10%, you can say 7.2% to make the math easy. Let's say your average rate of return in your investment account was 7.2%.
Okay.
Okay. 7.2 goes into 72 how many times?
10.
10. That tells me the rule of 72 says every 10 years your money will double. So if you put $100,000 into an investment account, and we know that you're going to earn 7.2% on average annually, then your money will double every 10 years because the rule of 72 says divide 72 by the rate of return by 7.2 every 10 years.
Right.
So if you're 40 years old and you have that $100,000, when you're 50, what's that $100,000 worth? It doubles, John.
Bro,
it doubles.
I shit you not. I just got a flashback of like PTSD when I should have studied this, and the professor's just like,
okay.
What?
So it's 200. Now, John, at that same rate of return, by the time you turn 60, what is that 200 worth?
I think we should do a
It doubles again. It's 400. Hey, John, by the time you turn 70, what does it become? It becomes 800. So, but John, by the time you turn 80, that $100,000 that you got at 40, that $100,000 is now worth $1.6 million. That's rule of 72. So when I say no dum-dums, you got to be good at fourth grade math, that's all I'm talking about. I cannot do trigonometry. I cannot do calculus. I cannot do pre-calculus. I can't even do geometry. I had to struggle, i.e. cheat, my way through college algebra, but I can do fourth grade math. And it's not something that you have to be able to come in doing that well right away, but within a year or two, your aptitude should allow you to be able to do it that well. Okay, you do have to love helping people. I know I joked about the whole Knights thing, but you have to love helping people. You have to be a natural problem solver, but you have to have a mind for sales, marketing, and advertising. Because if you can't sell, market, advertise, or network your butt off, how are you ever going to generate a lead, build a relationship? If you can't sell, advertise, or market when that borrower, that home buyer calls you, you're not their only choice, right? They can go to their bank or credit union. They can find a lender online. They can call your two competitors right down the road. You have to be able to build rapport and build and get that person to trust you so they use you. And you have to be able to learn programs, products, and guidelines. Like, sure, AI may be able to help us with a lot of that going forward, right? The research will be able to do it much quicker. But at some point, you still have to be able to double check your assistant. If you're using AI to be your assistant, you got to double check their work. It's a partner, right? You can't be the dumbest of the partners. Like, you got to be able to carry your weight if the partnership's going to work. All right. So like, these are things that when you're contemplating the career and you're trying to say, is this for me? And then lastly, I'll leave you with this. It is not a side hustle. It is not a part-time gig. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a real deal, live profession. And no, the world according to Dustin Owen, the way that I've lived it and understood it for the past 20 years, this is not a and I do. Oh, I'm a commercial realtor and I do insurance and I do mortgages. I'm not saying there aren't men and women who do it and there aren't men and women who do it decently. But when I study the industry and I study professionals in totality, if you want to be a great realtor, be a fucking great realtor. If you want to be a great insurance salesperson, be the best insurance salesperson. If you're going to come to the mortgage industry, do so because you want to generate the most leads so you can help the most people. It's about helping people. Generate the most leads, you can help the most people. Help the most people, you can close the most loans. Close the most loans, you can make the most money. Make the most money, you can tithe the most money and you can save the most money. But be the best. Get hyper-focused and obsessed with being great. Dedicate 40, 50, 60 hours a week to that craft. Don't try to half-ass being a lender while also slinging insurance, while also doing real estate on the side. Because that's just going to make you a half-ass, more than likely broke joke, slapdick, wannabe poser, and nobody wants to be that. And I just hurt someone's feelings for saying that, and for that, I apologize.
Still subscribe, though, because you probably needed to hear it.
Well, yeah, so here's the deal. You made it this far into the show. We wish you the best of luck in your career. If you're a T-lopper through and through and you just tuned in because you love to hear JC give me shit, thank you for that as well. Share this with anybody that you can think of that is entertaining a career in mortgage. Make sure you all have gone to our website, tloponline.com. Sign up for our newsletter. It's free. If you're serious about being a mortgage professional, sign up for the free newsletter. Once you are licensed and you are gainfully employed, you're going to realize pretty quickly, holy shit, that dude wasn't joking. Like, I got to be resourceful AF, always and forever. Learn from my mistakes, hire a coach, and get sales training from experts early in your career. It's the best investment you can make, and we offer it right here at the TLOP MLO coaching community. If you've tuned in on audio, do me a favor, go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the Loan Officer Podcast, aka TLOP, on YouTube, because what you'll find is we have curated playlists and we have additional content on top of the podcast that you will find very beneficial to your career. When you're on our website, tloponline.com, if you see the little link for the donation, which is called what again, John?
Patreon, I think.
Patreon. If you see our Patreon link, if you loved what we did today, if you love the content we're creating, do us a favor. Every time you listen or watch something that really resonates with you, a few bucks each episode goes a long way for John and I and the rest of the team over at TLOP so we can continue doing this. And more importantly, we continue to make it better. His name is John Coleman. I'm Dustin Owen. That's all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on many episodes still to come. Peace.